have a new royal resident, born to the most modern royal couple.
The example that Meghan and Harry have made by falling in love with one another and not being hindered by anybody's old-fashioned, stuffy ideas, it is fantastic.
As her bump grows, so do the Collinshires. But how will Meghan fare compared to royal mothers before her?
Kate's always been flawless, and I don't think anything more could demonstrate that than when she's emerged 3 times with her 3 children.
Will Meghan be able to cope with the intense level of press scrutiny?
Diana herself once said that when she gave birth, she felt the whole country was in labour with her.
Better be very kind and somehow ask them not to make too much noise. Some sleep is badly needed.
How will she juggle mothering and her royal duties?
That was the thing which the Queen had found most difficult to balance, to be a good queen and also a good mother.
In this film, we meet royal super nannies in training.
Nannies need to be a bit like James Bond meeting Mary Poppins, if you like.
Take a look at who the new godparents might be.
If the royal wedding guest list invite is anything to go by, this could be the most star-studded list of godparents in royal history.
And find out what a royal childhood is like under the glare of the modern media spotlight.
The nanny of our current queen said, royals are only private in the womb.
With Meghan, I think we're seeing a Prince Harry that is viciously protective. Harry the dad, my goodness, again, multiply that.
May 2018. Watched by 2 billion people around the world. Prince Harry drives off into the sunset with his new bride. Instantly, there's only one thing on people's minds.
As soon as they'd taken the confetti out of their hair, the next story in the chapter was, will they, won't they, have a baby?
Harry has been a brilliant uncle to William's children. But more than anything, he wants to be a father, and he has hankered after children for a number of years.
Given Meghan's age, she was 36 when she married, I think there was probably a biological pressure to start a family. And in that engagement day interview, Harry had hinted that, it was certainly on the agenda.
Children?
Not currently, no. No, of course, I think, one step at a time, and hopefully we'll start a family in the near future.
Meghan's upbringing was not the easiest of upbringings, but that is something that Harry and Meghan bizarrely have in common. You long for a tight-knit family, and this boy or girl will, for Harry, complete his world.
5 months after their wedding, keen-eyed journalists think they spot what they're waiting for.
As soon as I saw her step out of the car at Princess Eugenie's wedding in Windsor, that sort of very deliberately loose-cut box coat, it was just a bit of a giveaway.
The mere fact of her holding a plastic folder in a suitable place is enough to get the world's media going.
Royal babies are celebrity big game. They really are. They earn a huge amount of money. And so people want to get the first scoop.
Confirmation from Kensington Palace that Prince Harry and Meghan are indeed expecting their first child.
The media splashes the news around the globe. But such public comment on a royal wife's condition would have been highly frowned upon in the Queen's day.
It's easy to see the radiant happiness of the princess as she and her very good-looking husband pose for the cameras in the palace.
Back then, you wouldn't dare assume to announce that the Queen was pregnant. It just wouldn't be done. I don't think they'd be sent off to Tower of London at that point, but still, have to be careful.
Instead, the press was left to read between the lines of cryptic palace statements.
The clue in those days was that a female member of the royal family had cancelled all their engagements for the foreseeable future.
Photographers would be advised to tactfully avoid taking pictures of Princess Elizabeth in what they described as her interesting condition.
It wasn't felt quite nice, as it were, for a woman to flaunt a visibly pregnant belly, so she tended to retire a little bit.
By the time Diana and Charles married, society had changed, and the royal family felt it acceptable to make the news more public.
By this morning's announcement that your Royal Highnesses are to be blessed with a child.
But after the announcement, the press most definitely did not allow the princess to gracefully retire.
In the early stages of Diana's pregnancy, Diana was photographed in a bikini on holiday in the Bahamas, and the Queen was really annoyed and horrified about this.
First time that we'd seen a member of the royal family in that way. You know, this was unseemly for somebody who might sit on the British throne.
So she called a meeting at Buckingham Palace of all the editors of the national newspapers. And she said, you know, you simply have to leave the Princess of Wales alone. But I don't think they really took any notice.
But the press wasn't willing to leave Diana or any royal mothers alone. The world was just too fascinated by every detail of their pregnancies. And so what they wore became front-page news.
When you look at those pictures of Diana in those tent-like dresses that were clearly very comfortable but weren't really anything on the fashion radar.
Fergie with her famous sailor outfits, I think even she would cringe at those today. But they were of their time. They were what young women were wearing in the 1980s.
Far from hiding away, royal mothers-to-be are now on show like never before, and they have to dress accordingly.
The Duchess of Cambridge was very experimental. Sometimes she'd wear really fitted clothes, sometimes she'd wear looser and floatier dresses, but she always went for something that was a statement.
Look at what Meghan's wearing today. Showing the bump, you know, really skin-tight clothing.
Meghan was very used to strutting her stuff on the red carpet and looking fabulous, glamorous, dare I say it, sexy, and clearly that's not something she's been completely prepared to give up.
But lordy, very, very Eiffel Tower height heels. She looks incredibly elegant, but she probably just wants to take those heels off and put on her flip-flops.
As Meghan, like royal mothers-to-be before her, starts to weigh up where and how to give birth, one thing she'll be glad not to have to endure is the gruesome royal tradition of having her birth observed by a bunch of government officials.
The royal birthing chamber was a very crowded place. I mean, it's appalling to our eyes.
The closer you were to the business end, shall we say, the greater your honour.
In Britain, the protocol for having an official observer at every royal birth dates back to 1688.
When James II's wife gave birth, there were stories that a baby boy was smuggled in a warming pan because it had been so long and no boy had been produced and it was so controversial.
This probably wasn't true, it probably was a real pregnancy, but still it became gossip, it became talked about, and after that, to get rid of any gossip, all royal births had to be witnessed by a senior politician.
So this ancient and in many ways archaic tradition had gone on for centuries in this country. The birthing room was contaminated by these rather undignified and ungraceful men from the government.
And Victoria said, I have to deal with these men every day, and I don't want them watching me give birth, very rightly. So they had to wait in an adjoining room.
Unfortunately for the Queen's mother, the official observer tradition was still going strong when she gave birth.
Princess Elizabeth, as then she was born at a very extraordinary moment, 1926, the year of the general strike.
It's a huge crisis for the government, but in the middle of it, the Home Secretary has to leave these midnight conversations about what to do with the nation to go and witness the birth of the Queen.
The little princess was eventually born by caesarean section. The Home Secretary immediately rang the Mayor of London, and then the news was put out.
But when Princess Elizabeth's father came to the throne a decade later, the official observer's days were numbered.
By the time of George VI, that tradition was seen as being outdated, outmoded, and completely unnecessary.
Kate and Meghan will be absolutely thrilled not to have the presence of the Home Secretary when they are giving birth.
Modern royals may have evaded the official observer, but they have hordes of probing eyes in a different guise to contend with.
Anyone who marries into the royal family have to come to terms with the fact that their family belongs to them, but also belongs to the nation.
Will Meghan buckle under the pressure like some before her?
Diana was very emotional. The car drove round the corner with her holding William in the back seat, and she burst into tears.
As the royal bump swells, the nation poises itself for the new arrival.
This amazing sort of rock and roll royal couple are going to have a baby. You know, it's understandable, really, that the public want to know everything they can about Meghan and Harry, the parents.
Congratulations, Meghan.
Meghan's celebrity lifestyle adds to our fascination, from her estimated £200,000 baby shower to the private jet that Amal Clooney hired to fly her home.
Meghan does have a very different look on how she lives and what she wears and how she is performing her duties as a royal, so people are interested.
Harry has worked hard to transform his image. This was him alongside Usain Bolt during his Caribbean tour to celebrate the Queen's Diamond Jubilee.
Prince Harry may be sixth in line to the throne, but he is still consistently voted within the top 3 most popular royals. So I think there was always going to be a huge interest in this baby.
Wind back the clock 37 years, and Diana dealt with similar press overdrive when she was expecting William.
Diana herself once said that when she gave birth, she felt the whole country was in labour with her. There was just this huge public interest.
All anyone can do is wait. Something Diana wasn't prepared to do.
Prince William was apparently induced. She says later, oh, so it fitted in with Prince Charles's polo match. But I think really she couldn't take any more, and doctors will take a decision to induce a child if they think that the mother is fraught and suffering.
And so an anxious Diana made her way to the now world-famous Lindo Wing, where the Queen's surgeon gynecologist was based.
When I had my daughter there, it was very Spartan compared to what it is today. And it really wasn't a smart room at all. There was no ensuite bathroom. But the staff were simply wonderful. And the medical care was first class.
Diana is believed to have had long but straightforward labours, giving birth standing up, supported by Charles, sucking on ice cubes for comfort.
Can you be very kind and somehow ask them not to make too much noise? Some sleep is badly needed.
I think Kate was keen to follow in those footsteps, to continue that historical link with the hospital, but also quite simply because it is the best.
After suffering from terrible morning sickness, Kate entered the Lindo Wing through a secret tunnel. But once inside, her births went remarkably smoothly.
Sir Marcus Setchell, the Queen's obstetrician and gynecologist, came out of retirement to deliver Prince George. I mean, there was a team of about 21 staff close by the delivery room. They weren't going to take any risks.
Speculation that Meghan may give birth at the Lindo Wing has mounted.
If there's one person that Meghan can take advice from, and should take advice from, it's Kate. So it's time for the photographers and cameramen to get ready for another week in a drafty London street waiting.
Meghan might follow the traditional location, but will her birth plan be as traditional?
Meghan is a trendsetter in so many ways, and she is also a Californian. So, you know, this might be a little bit more of a holistic birth.
Meghan had told a lady in Birkenhead recently, who was a hypnobirthing practitioner, the work you're doing is amazing. So I can imagine, given her interest in yoga and meditation, it's very much something that she'd want to look at.
And there might be speculation that she'll give birth up a tree, you know, reared by... I mean, some crazy stuff comes out. The reality is, they will be surrounded by some expert attention. They will be as well looked after as you could possibly dream, and they will do it their way.
Meghan may well want to go without pain relief, but if it all gets too much, she can seek the type of help first championed by a royal mother of 9 before her.
We think of Victoria as this matriarch, but oddly enough, and for such an icon of domesticity, she found the whole business disgusting, the shadow side of marriage, she called it. Of course, when she began bearing children, it was still before any really effective pain relief.
Queen Victoria found out that there were obstetricians and anaesthetists in Edinburgh specifically that were allowing women to have chloroform during labour and having pain-free births, and she thought that was wonderful. Well, who wouldn't?
She was urged not to set this bad example by some in the religious establishment, but Victoria was having none of that. She wanted the blessed chloroform.
Terry Coates is an expert on how women coped with childbirth in centuries gone by.
Here's a chloroform mask. It's the sort of mask she might have used for chloroform or possibly ether, and it would have been placed over the nose and mouth, and the ether or chloroform would have been dripped onto the fabric. So when Queen Victoria asked for the pain relief for her 8th and 9th babies, she was really doing something that was completely out of the ordinary, and she sort of blazed a trail for other women to have pain relief for labour.
Congratulations, I'm not predicting it's going to be a boy.
Meghan has reportedly hired a birth coach called a doula to help her have a natural labour. But will that mean Harry's left pacing outside?
I think that Harry is so likely to attend the birth. I think he'll be there doing yoga moves with Meghan, and I think that Harry has a very important duty, and that is to call the Queen. So what normally happens is that there is an encrypted phone that cannot be tapped, and he'll tell her, girl or boy. So the Queen will know before Charles, before Meghan's mother. That's the way it works. The Queen knows first because she's the head of the family.
Finally, the moment comes to introduce the bundle of joy to the nation, the importance of which cannot be underestimated.
After Prince Charles was born, it was something like a month before Cecil Beaton was invited to take official pictures to be released. And because not much had been seen before that, there really were rumours that there was something wrong with the baby.
But by the time the royals started giving birth in hospital, much to the public's delight, first appearances came much sooner.
When Diana emerged on the steps of the Lindo wing, this was totally novel, because royal babies went from being a sort of private and protected rare species to public property. And I think that's the moment things changed, and I don't think anything's been the same really quite since then.
And Diana was very emotional. I think the car drove around the corner with her and, holding William in the back seat, and she burst into tears.
Roll forward 30 years, and the strain would only intensify for the next royal mum to step out of the Lindo wing.
The Duchess of Cambridge was under a phenomenal amount of pressure. I mean, I can only assume that she knew that her job was going to be to walk down those steps hours after giving birth and present her baby to the world.
There are hundreds of us, so the royal couple really does feel that they have to come out as soon as they can, because otherwise they think that they're making problems for the doctors, for the nurses, and for these normal young couples who come out with a baby and then they're confronted with the world's press.
Good evening. It is a boy. The Duchess of Cambridge gave birth to a son at 4:24 this afternoon. This is the scene.
Kate did have an army, well, not an army, just a little troupe of hairstylists, makeup artists, because obviously she wanted to look her best.
She's always been flawless, almost too perfect. And I don't think anything more could demonstrate that perfection than when she's emerged 3 times with her 3 children.
In fact, some mothers complained, she's setting too high a standard for motherhood, because she turns up on the steps of a hospital hours after giving birth looking like a movie star. So this is putting pressure on us.
With the first glimpse of the new baby snatched, bets are placed, and the nation awaits for the names to be announced.
The British public, we're really excited, but we're really anxious, and we just can't wait to get this thing started.
And to find out if it would be Prince or Princess, Lord or Lady.
I suspect they probably will choose to have titles for their children. Prince Charles will be king, and I think he'd want his grandson or granddaughter to therefore carry an HRH title.
But they may decide not to use the title. They don't have to use it. Prince Edward's children don't. It's very much up to the parents and what they decide.
What they're going to be called, well, that's exciting, isn't it?
People have, again, been mad to bet on this, haven't they?
Exactly. So Victoria is now into 6-1 and Diana is into 10-1.
You're not going to see Princess Pepper, sad as it may be. So if you want to call your child Plum or Peach, then don't marry into the royal family.
Although I doubt we'll see a full-blown American name, maybe they will be a little bit bolder, a little bit less royal in their choices than William and Kate felt the need to do.
But I do think there probably will be a more traditional choice of royal names for this baby. We may see an Elizabeth in there somewhere if it's a girl, and a Philip in there somewhere if it's a boy.
When the name's finally been decided, and in Charles's case it took a full month, the royal christening can finally commence. The guest list may be short, but the list of traditions to be followed is most definitely not.
For many years, royal children were christened in the gown that Queen Victoria had her own children christened in, which was made from her wedding dress.
Granny was christened in this, and I was. Looks remarkably well despite it.
This christening gown was worn by 62 royal babies over the course of its 163 years of service.
But obviously that became very old, and it was remade using a very, very similar fabric. And in fact, there's extra fabric so that if two needed to be made, then they would be able to have two gowns.
Widespread stories throughout Meghan's pregnancy has suggested that extra gown may well be needed.
There have been rumours that perhaps she has sought fertility treatment, all sorts of rumours about IVF, all sorts of rumours that she might be carrying twins, but they are just that, rumours. The palace won't comment on them. It is deemed a private matter. What we are told is that they are expecting a baby in the spring, which suggests that it's probably not twins.
If the rumours were to be true, it would be the first time the royal family has had twins for 600 years. All royal babies are christened in water taken straight from the River Jordan, but the christening location is more open for discussion.
I think there's a strong chance that baby Sussex could even be christened at St George's Chapel, which would be a fantastic moment for Harry and Meghan to relive their wonderful wedding day there. But it's also where Harry himself was christened.
After the service, the Queen talked to Princess Anne's children about a new puppy.
It's called Dash. Dash. Zara.
If the new royal baby's christening is held at Windsor, will we see the return of some A-listers in a different role?
This could be the most star-studded list of godparents in royal history, and if the royal wedding guest list invite is anything to go by, you might see the Clooneys popping up as godparents.
The Beckhams, who knows? I mean, why not? Meghan's background being as it is, she is close friends with some very famous people. So I think it'll be very, very interesting to see their choice of godparents.
The christening photos are often an opportunity to see the whole royal family gathered together in an intimate setting. Kent Gavin was chosen to be the official photographer for Prince William's.
It was a great honour. William never stopped crying throughout the whole photo shoot until Diana put her little finger into his mouth. Pictures went along swingingly. They had the big group, the small group. Everything went fine. But when it was over, I realised it was the Queen Mother's birthday, and the picture of the youngest and the eldest had to be taken, and it was missing. And I thought to myself, well, if I don't do this, I'm going to be asked why. You're not going to get another crack at it. You've got to do it. So I walked across to the Queen and I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, there is a picture I think we should have." And she went, "Goodness me, why is that not on the list?" So the Queen called out, Mother, you must come out." Out she came with a pink gin and tonic, I remember, and she put it down on the table and walked over and sat down on the bench, and Diana gave William a cross to her, and she looked up at the camera and grinned and laughed her head off, cuddling William. And when they asked for the official set of pictures at the palace, they were so pleased that shot was in there.
But after the godparents have gone home, the photographers departed, Harry and Meghan can finally retreat to their new Windsor family home.
I think that the hard work really does begin when all the fanfare has died down, because that's when you're left new parents with a new baby, and that's when it gets very tough.
Speculation is that they won't have a nanny, they'll be hands-on parents. Well, I can't wait to see, with Harry at 2 o'clock in the morning. I think he'll get
In the grounds of Windsor Castle lies Frogmore Cottage, a former home for Windsor Palace staff and soon-to-be baby Sussex's new home.
I think it was quite a surprise to everybody when it was announced that the Sussexes would be leaving Kensington Palace. After all, this was Prince Harry's childhood home.
Harry finds the constraints of Kensington Palace too much. He was the one that said that Kate is a prisoner there, because although it's absolutely beautiful, the minute you go outside the protective walls, you've got people gawping at you.
You're in the middle of a city, but you can't go down the road. I mean, Meghan can't get cross with Harry and go and have a glass of Chardonnay down the road with her friends. You can't go anywhere. I mean, it must be suffocating. Although it was described as some sort of evidence of a rift between her and Kate, nonsense.
Harry grew up with the cameras constantly trained on him. That's not the childhood he wants for his own children.
Darren McGrady was personal chef to the Queen and Princess Diana for over 15 years. He also used to live next door to Frogmore Cottage, a 10-minute walk down the hill from the castle.
It's a beautiful place to live. It's so peaceful, so tranquil. The castle grounds are so big, they can just hide away. They'll be in their own little cocoon, opening the back door into the gardens of Frogmore, and just being able to go walking and have that new family time together.
And actually for Meghan, as tradition dictates, she will have at least 6 months maternity leave. And wow, won't she be happy with that? 6 months to take stock. Let's not forget, this is still a whirlwind romance. 2.5 years ago, they hadn't met.
Builders have been working on Frogmore Cottage for months to turn it into a home fit for a prince and his new family.
At the time I was there, that was staff accommodation, and so a lot of money's going to have to be spent on sort of making this a beautiful home.
I think Meghan probably does have quite firm ideas about interiors. We know from her previous social media accounts that she had a particular aesthetic for her home in Toronto. It was very Instagrammable.
We hear these stories about vegan wallpaper and celebrity interior designers. Yeah, I mean, that's possible. But if you're Prince Harry, you've grown up in palaces all your life. Trust me, the appeal of a nice open fire in a little cottage is amazing. They'll want to make it homely, small enough where they don't have to echo down hallways. They want to be together.
Harry is a country person, and although everyone thinks Meghan's an urban girl, I think she's a country girl too. And they'll be able to make the house the way they want it, which is extremely fortunate.
As children, Princesses Elizabeth and Margaret also relished an escape from the media glare in the city and the stuffiness of the royal court, and retreated to Glamis Castle in Scotland.
Life at the palace was very restricted because, it was a working office. But at Glamis, they could roam freely all over the place.
Up in one of Glamis Castle's turrets lies a hidden trove of rarely seen photos of the Queen and Princess Margaret as little girls.
Glamis Castle was the family home of the Queen Mother. So obviously we have a lot of records and lovely photographs relating to Princesses Elizabeth and Margaret. So a lot of these photos won't have been seen by the public before. It's very much a private family album. Weather permitting, it was very much an outdoor lifestyle here. They went horse riding, dog walking, And here we can see Princess Elizabeth jumping the hedge in the Italian gardens. Loved being outdoors. I think they had a tremendous amount of freedom here. The papers include letters from Princess Elizabeth to her grandmother. So she's writing here in August 1937. Darling Granny, thank you very much for having us to stay with you at Glamis. It was one of the happiest weeks I have ever spent. And she even goes on to say it was very dull here today after Glamis. So she clearly enjoyed her visits.
Prince Harry may not be the only schoolboy to have got drunk, but he's royal and therefore different, that his misdemeanours are subject to national examination.
Modern royals now have a 24-hour news cycle to contend with.
You want to have a look through that? Let's see all those people at the other side.
Having grown up in the spotlight himself, William has zealously protected his children's privacy.
The letters went out from the palace to every editor, asking for them to live privately and not to be harassed, and that if they did overstep the line, then there would be legal proceedings.
It is a big deal for William and Kate to bring their children out in public, especially as this was Princess Charlotte's first big engagement.
They will not tolerate the paparazzi taking pictures of their children, and if official pictures aren't released, we really don't get to see them at all.
Oh, how's that?
I think Kate and William are doing a very, very, very good job of protecting their children from the prurient interest of the press, and at the same time allowing us enough access to see them, and because the public feel that there's some ownership over these poor kids.
The royal family provides an opportunity to explore something extraordinary and forget the ordinariness of our existence, like watching a soap opera, but a soap opera that's real.
But sometimes the soap opera becomes too much. In 2016, Harry made an unprecedented step of attacking the press when his new girlfriend Meghan was harassed, saying she'd been subject to a wave of abuse, outright sexism and racism.
With Meghan, I think we're seeing a Prince Harry that is viciously protective, understandably so, but viciously reactive to criticisms of her. Harry, the dad, my goodness, again, multiply that. And I hope for his sake that he's able to kind of just take a step back. Don't take this all to heart.
This is a photograph of my family.
One way Harry can protect his child's privacy is to follow a much more intimate, personal style of portraiture adopted by his sister-in-law.
A lot of the time now, Kate takes her own pictures and issues them to the media, and we get them that way. Kate is quite good at it too. Yeah, well, she's got the access. That makes it a lot easier, doesn't it?
He didn't seem over keen on the intrusion. Who are all these people in my garden?
But no royal child can retreat from a nation hungry for adorable images of young princes and princesses for too long. And when they do appear, every tiny detail is noted.
Even in the days of the Queen's childhood, if she wore a frock, you know, within 48 hours, it would be copied and on sale in America. In today's world, people just go online and buy the same thing, and it's huge business.
In 2015, it was estimated the annual contribution of Princess Charlotte and Prince George to the UK economy was £177 million. Fully aware of the impact every piece of clothing will have, how will Harry and Meghan dress their child?
Harry's joked about some of the outfits he was made to wear as a little boy, so I suspect he's not going to put his child in anything that he wouldn't be happy wearing.
When you look at William and Kate's children, they look like they've been dressed as extras from an Enid Blyton novel, you know, the little shorts and the black shoes and the little socks. It's all very, very traditional.
I think we'll probably see Meghan and Harry perhaps a little more modern. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see this little toddler romping around in a pair of dungarees.
After her maternity leave is up, Meghan and Harry will both have a packed royal schedule. Will they need the services of an elite nanny to look after the baby in their absence?
Nannies need to be a bit like James Bond meeting Mary Poppins, if you like.
And impose the sometimes hard to achieve strict royal discipline.
They were little monkeys, so Diana was having a lot of trouble making them do what she wanted them to do.
Once tucked away from the madding crowds in their new home in the grounds of Windsor Castle, who will Harry and Meghan turn to for help with their new baby?
They actually have a very scaled back team of domestic staff. You know, Meghan does all of the cooking, but I don't think you're going to find maternity nurses and night nurses. They're a pretty hands-on couple.
I think Harry clearly adores Doria Ragland, Meghan's mother, and I think she'll play a pivotal role in those early weeks.
And according to plans for renovations to Frogmore Cottage, there will be a granny annex so that when Doria stays, there'll be a special place for her to stay at the cottage.
But with most of her friends over in the States, and a mother only here some of the time, once she goes back to work, there's one royal institution Meghan is likely to really need.
The royal nanny is so important to the royal child, and many royal children, they are utterly devoted to their nannies and never forget them. The Queen's nanny, Bobo, she was always by her side. She was devoted to the Queen.
Literally the night before the wedding, before she was about to marry this handsome prince, the Queen had loyal Bobo sleeping next door to her. So in a way, she went straight from the nursery to the marital bed.
Nannies were all but essential for the Queen to fulfill her role.
The Queen has been called the world's #1 career woman, and that was true.
Obviously, a lot of her time would be taken up, with royal duties, and I think that was probably the thing which she must have found most difficult to balance, to be a good queen and also a good mother.
Harry benefited from the huge change in royal parenting style chosen by his mother.
Princess Diana brought that tender, loving, caring, emotional side into the royal family.
Charles had parent substitute all his life, and Diana said that she was never going to bring up her children in the way that he'd been brought up, which was to be so emotionally distant from your parents.
Diana insisted she took her boys on royal tours, something that had never been done before.
Spotlight should shift just a little onto the baby Prince William today.
Diana couldn't escape the need for a nanny, but was determined it wouldn't be the usual stiff-starched matron type.
Diana said she wanted a far more modern nanny, but of course that it didn't really work, because Diana actually wanted the children all to herself. She had a wonderful nanny called Barbara Barnes, and Diana became jealous and would pick on Barbara, and it just became untenable. So in the end, Barbara had to leave.
Diana would have another battle on her hands, implementing the usual strict discipline expected of a royal child.
Diana insisted that she should be the one that should smack her children, if anyone should. And again, in those days, you could smack your children, but the Queen was quite shocked at how wild William and Harry were.
They were little monkeys, so Diana was having a lot of trouble making them do what she wanted them to do.
Diana did say that at Fergie's wedding, when William was a page, she thought she might have to put a line of Smarties along the aisle so that Prince William would keep his eyes straight in front. But in the end, although Prince William fiddled and jiggled, he did behave quite well for Prince William.
By the 90s, the Windsor nursery was bursting with royal children and their nannies.
But I think the funniest part of all was actually the order of rank that went on in the royal nursery when one of the nannies would say, well, why don't we do roast chicken this evening? My children love that. And Prince William and Harry's nanny would say, I think we'll do fillet of beef. The boys will like that. I don't think it was about the boys. It was about Nanny.
There's always domestic politics at Kensington Palace, and rumours have been especially rife since Meghan's arrival. What inspiration might Harry and Meghan take from the ups and downs of their childhoods to guide them through parenthood?
As parents, William and Harry will always be influenced by their mother. Her desire to try and give them a taste of real life, normality, runs through the veins of William and Harry.
Meghan's parents separated when she was 2. She grew up in a broken family, but actually, to both of her parents' credit, she grew up in a family that was happy nonetheless. And she has a very, very close relationship with Doria. And I think she is going to want to make sure that she has a very close relationship with her child.
Harry tends to follow in his brother's footsteps. And weirdly, William tends to follow in Harry's footsteps. They are this weird sort of mentors to each other. And so I would expect when Harry becomes a dad, he will look at William and Kate's example and he will follow that almost to the letter.
William and Kate have tried to be as hands-on as their busy lives allow.
I mean, Prince William famously changed nappies, got up in the middle of the night to do feeds. I mean, he really doesn't make a song and dance about it, but he has been a very hands-on father.
William and Kate do school pickup, they do bath time, they do tea time. Saying that, when they go away on tours, Carol's always there to help look after the children. So I think it's very much joint childcare between Carol and Michael Middleton and Maria.
Maria is the Cambridge's Spanish nanny who resides in her own apartment at Kensington Palace.
Maria Barallo was a brilliant appointment. She's very rarely photographed, she's very rarely seen, but she is always there.
Barallo is a prestigious Norland nanny. Her degree from this Bath college could set you back £45,000. And it's the go-to place for royals when they need childcare.
We say that we are steeped in history, but focused on the future.
The purpose of play is to think about how children are developing their gross motor skills. And remember, a lot of development is about rhythm, isn't it?
Being a Norland nanny, it really is like the best of the best. So you get not only a degree from working here, you also get your Norland diploma, which you can't get anywhere else.
One of the things that Norland is well known for is the Norland uniform. It's become fairly iconic, something that receives a lot of attention, sometimes controversy, but it's been around for 126 years.
But while Norland have kept many of their traditions, they have also moved with the times, providing their nannies with essential skills for those looking after 21st century VIP children.
We do skip hand driving to be able to handle a car in a situation where you've got your charge in the back and you need to make sure it's as safe as possible for the children.
We learned how to defend ourselves and how to defend our charges if we came into a dangerous situation.
Military intelligence officers, for example, come to the college, a bit like James Bond meeting Mary Poppins, if you like. I think that's how some people have put it.
But even the best nannies can't guarantee good behaviour all the time.
Obviously, royal children, everybody wants a picture of them having a meltdown. And Princess Charlotte had a bit of a meltdown, which, of course, you know, was caught on camera. And they produce very charming, wonderful pictures.
Will Harry hire a traditional nanny like William has? Or will he keep the family unit, just him, Meghan, and their new baby?
They'll probably think that they can cope without, but the reality is when they're trying to do royal duties, it's almost impossible.
All the speculation is that they won't have a nanny, they'll be hands-on parents. Well, I can't wait to see, you know, with Harry at 2 o'clock in the morning. I think he'll get a nanny.
Windsor Castle has witnessed many royals come and go. Its walls could tell 1,000 stories. But what will its new resident bring to the royal family?
The fact that the child of Harry and Meghan will have a mixed racial heritage is a very positive thing for the royal family. There's a lot of people in Britain, as well as beyond, a lot of the Queen's subjects, who will, I think, feel more connected to the royal family because of it.
The example that Meghan and Harry have made by falling in love with one another and not being hindered by anybody's old-fashioned, stuffy, ridiculous, out-of-date ideas that one cannot have a blended family or a mixed-race baby. It is fantastic that that is happening in our monarchy.
I think it's really time to overturn the white, blue-eyed, blonde Princess myth, and that every little girl, if she wants to be, can be a princess or she can be an astronaut.
But away from any royal significance, in essence, Harry and Meghan are just two new parents striking out for the first time.
Harry and Meghan will very much carve out their own idea of parenting. Remember that obviously they're going to do it in the modern way. Everybody's just longing to see what their modern way is.
Everyone give Meghan a group hug.
Harry has been desperate to have kids of his own, desperate. So it's an exciting time for him. And I hope his child is ready for all the kisses and love that Harry's going to bestow on them.
My prediction for Harry and Meghan's baby is it will be a girl.
If you want me to hazard a guess, I say boy.
I think it would be nice if Princess Charlotte had another little girl to play with.
If Harry has a boy, in 18 years' time, tabloid reporters will have a lot of fun.
My hunch is it's a girl, but one thing is for sure, we don't have to wait too long now.